is the Alex Jones Show. Call Alex now, toll free, at 877-590-5525. Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
That's right, coming to you out of the studios of News Radio 590 KLBJ here in Austin, Texas, syndicated across the United States on AM and FM, as well as shortwave, satellite, and the internet. I am Alex Jones. Thank you for joining us. We'll be live here for the Sunday abbreviated edition that I do. I'm on the air 6 days a week, Monday through Friday. Then I come back in on Sundays from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I want to take a ton of phone calls today on the economy, on Barack Obama, on where you think this country is headed in the future. Are you happy with the direction that Barack Obama, the 44th president, now president-elect, moving quickly into the presidential role with radio addresses and press conferences? Are you happy with what he is doing? Toll-free number to join us, 877-590-5525, 877-590-5525. And if those lines fill up, you can always call, if you're listening in Texas, 836-0590. I want to go over Barack Obama and who he really is and what he really stands for. But this has to be done delicately, or it only empowers the globalists, it only empowers the New World Order through this psychological trap that they've set up. Then I want to get into the Denver Post reporting what we told you 2 months ago. When I was in Denver, we witnessed police staged posing as demonstrators, and we talked to witnesses who had seen police posing as demonstrators trying to stir up trouble. Now, the police have been forced to admit now that they did stage attacks on other police as a pretext to be able to attack the peaceful crowds. Now, we've caught them in Seattle, we've caught them in D.C., we've caught them in Austin, Texas doing this. We've caught them in other countries, in Italy and Canada. Well, they've now been caught in Denver doing this. And the police admit they did it. You understand there's a whole world that the general public is not made privy to. If police, well, why would police go out and attack their own police as a pretext to demonize demonstrators? What does that tell you about major metropolitan police departments' mindset? Well, I mean, we've seen cases every few weeks about major police departments framing people. It's institutionalized. It's not one bad cop in the crime lab that frames people in Houston. It was over 4,000 people framed, and they were ordered to. And that came out and was barely a blurb 2 years ago in the Houston Chronicle. In Dallas, they like your car, they pull it over, they throw a bag of chalk in the back, they take your car. No judge, no jury. It's asset forfeiture, seizure. There's no Bill of Rights, no due process, no Constitution. And they don't care. And I had a police officer call me on Friday's show, and I actually, in hindsight, know who the guy was because he said his name, and then I Googled him, and oh yeah, I'd heard about him as a police detective in New Jersey who was involved on 9/11 responding, and he's had Richard Gage and architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth and to Speak. And he said, I get police to tune into your show and tell them that they need to hear this information, and then you're bashing them. Hey, man, I mean, if cops are attacking other cops and blaming it on the American people, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a good thing. I'm tired of it. I grew up in Rockwall, Texas, knowing the police dealt the drugs, and sure enough, later the sheriff, Jack McWhorter, went to prison for it. I mean, I'm not going to live in la-la land. I'm going to live in the real world. I'm not against a cop living in his house with his wife and children, or husband and children, living their life, out writing tickets or responding to burglaries or house alarms. But, I've had Austin cops come up and tell me, we're going to arrest you if you don't stop protesting on the street corner. And I've had to say, well, I'm going to sue you then and make them back off. And I've seen them arrest people in wheelchairs protesting out front of the governor's mansion, for handicapped rights or whatever. I'm an American. I'm a human being. I've got rights. I've got a soul. I have value. And I don't want to fight with you mindlessly. But I know the government itself is corrupt and evil. State, federal, international. I mean, evidenced by this banker takeover known as the bailout. Over $1 trillion has already been handed out directly to banks. It's being used as bonuses and to buy banks and other financial institutions, banks that are in good shape. There's a major Texas bank based in Houston that's going to be announcing it was bought Monday. I'll give you a hint. It has a founding father in its name. And that bank is in really good shape. I happen to know, well, I'll just say I know some of the governors of the bank. And the point is that's one of the healthiest banks in Texas. So it's being bought with the bailout money by one of the big four international banks. Now, let me explain something. You're going to pay for that money in tax money. And you're going to pay through inflation. Now, that is a heist. This is a robbery. This is crime going on. And it tells me if government will do things like this, which our government's never done anything like this. I mean, they've done a lot of bad stuff, but they've never grabbed $1 trillion and publicly handed it over to the private bankers who gave them campaign contributions while telling the public it was to get the economy going again and giving no money into the economy. I mean, that's a big deal. By the way, Barack Obama, he is appointing, and he set up a new commission on the economy, of the very insiders that have engineered what we're seeing right now. Not only have the banks cut off credit and currency and liquidity to the population in Main Street and to the automakers and everybody else, they are cutting it off, and their own documents are public. We've posted them at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com to cause an implosion in the economy so they can buy everything up that much cheaper. But that isn't enough. They then panic you and say, give us unlimited governmental power and give us trillions of dollars, or there'll be a depression a month ago. We got to have it today. And as of a month plus, not 1 cent's been given to any of the, quote, banks in trouble. It's not been used to, quote, freeze up mortgages. The truth is that was all a red herring, as I told you almost 3 years ago. Long before any discussion of subprime mortgages was in the news, I said, they're going to stage the implosion of the economy starting with the subprime mortgages, the adjustable rate mortgages. It's on record. It's in articles we wrote. It's in Endgame, film that's been out for a year and a half. And you saw what happened because we had spies inside an elite meeting in Canada, Bilderberg. You know, we actually fly on airplanes and get arrested, and get interrogated and go through hell to bring you information that, of course, turns out to be absolutely accurate. I mean, this is the real world. I hope people value what they're hearing here. They understand it isn't a bunch of phony liberal media or a bunch of fake right-wing media that's all bought and paid for by the establishment. And then they keep you within that small reservation, within that limited area of debate and discussion instead of looking at the wider world and information around it. So when we get back, what I'm going to do is we're going to talk to Robert and Steve and J.D. and Jeremy and Mike and John and Juan and many others, folks from D.C. to New Hampshire, from Texas to Tennessee and Colorado. We're going to take phone calls, and then later in the hour, I'm going to go through Barack Obama. His new chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, wrote a book back when he was working for Clinton, and in his book, he said, we want to disarm the American people, and we want to have national compulsory service for all, and we want to have a national draft again. And then Barack Obama has called for a national 1 million man spy force to spy on you and your family. We played that clip last week. And he had all this up on Friday. I covered it on the radio. He had it all up at change.gov. That's his presidential transition website, change.gov. And they said mandatory. You're going to mandatory, even old people, et cetera, are going to have to work for the government as slaves. Guess what? They took it down, and some newspapers picked up on it. They took it down. So we're going to cover that. Hey, look, this isn't about Barack Obama or George Bush, so don't you dare say I'm a George Bush supporter. I'm against what the puppet Barack Obama is pushing. You got it? I don't like the policies. I'm not into all the Hollywood baloney glitz. I see through it. Stay with us.